Good morning, everybody. Let's go. Another fun weekend and have some fun. Let's go clock in. The best part when the airport is nice and quiet, the calm before the storm. And we're back on another Stig shift. Hope everybody's doing well. Come on, we got a lot to talk about. Here we go. First office of the day. Beautiful 319. We'll do a quick little walk around. Make sure everything's A-okay. We'll go upstairs. It's gonna be a nice day. Here's something you don't see every day. Look, it's got the stoppers or the belts to stop the nose wheels. Not very many Airbuses have this anymore. Pretty cool, huh? I don't know if you heard me right, but I call them stoppers, but their actual correct name is wheel flex band brake. The reason I said it's very rare to see this because most of the modern Airbus 320 family, these things are removed. They're no longer needed. Matter of fact, let me show you what they actually look like up close. I'll have an older video that I dropped the nose gear doors and we're gonna walk up inside there and check it out. There's a little handle in that cavity. You pull it down and the nose gear doors will drop just like this. In order to get them back up, you would need to pressurize hydraulics to bring them back up. You'll see that at the end. Once the nose gear doors are dropped, we can have access to this area. This is the nose wheel well of the Airbus 319. And as you can see, the wheels, when they get retracted, they hit those belts or they scuff up against them. The purpose is pretty self-explanatory. It stops the nose wheels from turning once the aircraft is airborne and the gear is retracted. The reasoning behind this is sometimes aircraft will experience vibration as the nose gear is getting retracted because the wheels are still spinning because of centrifugal forces. All the black residue that you're seeing is obviously the tire. Now, newer Airbuses, they don't have this anymore. Airbus decided to remove it. From my understanding and research, Airbus decided to remove this component because the vibration was not as significant. The benefits of removing these components on the newer models is, first of all, prevent further deterioration of the nose wheel tires, as well as saving weight. So, yeah, that's about it. But here we go. Here's how to close the nose gear doors. My partner upstairs pressurized the hydraulic system and bam. Close the doors with the handle going up. So far, so good. She's a good bird. This one actually just came from the hangar, so just doing a quick little walk around, make sure all is good, and check the cabin. But this one's going to Mexico, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so far, so good. Thanks, office. This one's coming in and going right back out to Hawaii once again. So, Eops check time. Got tire pressure gauge ready. Feels like a rerun from last week, right? Yep. This aircraft came in and it's going to go back out to Honolulu, I believe, and we have to perform an Eops check. Now, the interesting part about Airbus, or narrow body, I should say, and wide body aircraft, the Eops check is still the same but slightly different. There's a couple of extra steps that we have to do on these aircraft. For example, on this aircraft, I have to open up the main landing gear door in order to inspect a very specific component. That component is called a CSMG, Constant Speed Motor Generator. In normal operations, the aircraft engine generators will provide power, but in case there is an emergency, this little unit, the CSMG, will begin to provide basic power to the aircraft. This works in tandem with the blue hydraulic system and the RAT, the ram air turbine. The RAT is only deployed in emergency situations. It will provide hydraulic pressure to the blue system, but it can also provide power to the CSMG to give aircraft the electrical power it needs. I made a whole video about the RAT and how it works. If you guys got a chance, go check that out. I give more detail there. Let's keep moving. Hey, quick look at the cargo door. Make sure the seal is good. If you're wondering what that little opening is, that is called a vent door. The purpose of the vent door is to balance the difference in pressure on the ground and in the cargo compartment. As I've mentioned before, the cargo pits are pressurized. When the aircraft comes in and lands and the cargo pits are open, because this is a mechanical linkage, once the handle is popped open, that vent will open and relieve any kind of residual pressure that's within the cargo pit. In normal operations, when the aircraft is flying, that is closed and sealed up. Up next, we take a look at the actuators that open that door. I'm looking for any kind of deterioration or leakage. We also take a look at the blowout panels that are on the ceiling. Again, pressurization protection. In case there was a rapid decompression within the cargo pit, those panels will pop down and equalize pressure between the main cabin and the cargo. This will prevent any kind of structural damage to the aircraft. Just a quick look at the smoke detectors that are in here, as well as just the condition of the cargo pit itself. That means the walls, the ceiling, the floor, the seals in between the floor, making sure all the proper placarding is there. Particular cargo pit, we're not allowed to put in live animals, or warm-blooded animals, I should say. There are cargo pits that you are allowed to do that. Those type of cargo pits would be heated. Tire is still hot, or the wheel is still hot, but it's okay. There's a particular reason I said this. The wheel is still hot because the aircraft had just landed. Now, what do you think that means when I take the pressure now, when the wheel is hot? That means I'm going to get a higher pressure. Normal standard for checking tire pressure is usually waiting till the tire cools down, getting to ambient temperature. That usually takes around 2 to 3 hours. Now, there's an exception to this rule. On a live flight such as this, and in a quick turnaround, aircraft don't have that much time on ground. That means I have to still take the tire pressure. Now, if it's above operating limits, that is acceptable. Now, if the pressure was low when the tire is hot, that's when I'll get concerned. And if you're curious, what's the pressure range on a 321neo for the main landing gear tire? It's 218 to 229 PSI. Alrighty, just gotta pull up the parameters, make sure everything's okay. One thing I do have to do is get the APU oils, or the hours I should say. That's what I need. Another slight difference on the Eops check for narrow body versus a wide body. On the wide bodies, you can just go on the ICAS or the ECAM, whatever is presented through the computer system. On the narrow body, we have to actually physically go up there to the APU and visually check the oil levels. I'm not quite sure why they do this, but that's the recommendation from the Eops program. On top of that, we also have to record the APU hours and document it into our system. And it doesn't matter if you service it or don't service it, you still got to record it. Even if the quantity is 0 added, you still got to record the hours. That's what I need. Print that out. So let's change a little bit of the topic here. And a lot of you guys from the last video brought this incident up. Y'all wanted me to talk about it. So let's talk about it. This is a Delta Airlines 321neo. This incident occurred on May 6th. This was a flight from Cancun coming to Seattle. Aircraft pulled up as normal, Jetbridge was pulled up, and ground power was hooked up. Once they hooked up the ground power, this started happening, a fire at the nose. Once that was noticed, emergency evacuation took place. As you can see, the slides are being deployed, the ones in the aft and the overwing. This is normal operating or emergency procedures to get people out of the aircraft as soon as possible away from the danger. The danger is up front. This is why you don't see the forward slides being deployed. And just to make mention to my flying public, a quick little PSA, leave your belongings behind. I still see people walking out with backpacks and whatever it is that they have. Leave it behind. It's not worth your life. A backpack can be replaced. Your $1,000 wallet can be replaced. Your phone can be replaced. All the things that you have, your passport, license, whatever, all of it can be replaced. It is not worth your life. Good news on this one, everybody got out safely from that aircraft. Also, one other thing to mention, this is why your flight attendants tell you to leave your window shades open, especially during landing and takeoff. In case something does occur, you want to be able to see outside where the danger is so you're not going towards that portion of the aircraft. That's why they tell you leave the window shades open. Okay, enough ranting about safety. Now I'm going back to what actually happened and why this happened. I know we can all wait for NTSB reports, but I can pretty much tell you exactly why this occurred. And just to make mention, this has got nothing to do with the manufacturer. This is not the aircraft's fault. This is the fault of the Jetbridge power cord and its power unit. Let me show you what this power port looks like, and I'll show you the power cord and how it's hooked up. This little opening right here, or the service panel, or the ground power receptacle panel, has various amount of features. Let's go through it real quick. From top to bottom, let's see. Flight interphone, that's how you jack in and have communications from the ground to the flight deck. External power bracket right there on the left, not in use. You can have external power hooked up, but it has not been engaged inside the flight deck yet. So you can have power, but not in use. Available is because power is being accepted by the aircraft. Cockpit call or flight deck call, that means somebody is from upstairs is calling to downstairs. And vice versa with the push button, from downstairs to upstairs. Ataru and avionics vents. That is designated in case the Atarus are still aligned and the power drops out and the batteries are still engaged. The aircraft horn will also go off and that light will come on. APU fire, self-explanatory. The APU is on fire. Right below it, you're going to have an APU shutdown. ELT, emergency locator transmitter. This is usually used for testing. When we test it, that light will come on. Also in case the ELT engages. The reset is to reset the system or the lights, and then the light test, which you'll see me do right here, is to test all the lights. That's pretty much it. In case I missed something, please feel free to correct me or add more information. I encourage that. Right next to all of that is the actual ground power receptacle. This is where you would take a GPU ground power unit or the Jetbridge power, which is almost the same thing, and hook up to the aircraft via this cord. This is external power, an outside source of power getting hooked up to the aircraft. This is providing 400 Hertz, 115 VAC. I know this is a very long-winded answer to why this occurred, but I need you to understand the system. Also, let's take a look at the ground power receptacle, just in case somebody thinks it can be hooked up in an incorrect way. No, you cannot. There's only one way you can connect this connector or plug into the aircraft. As you can see right there, it corresponds to the plug, so there's only one way to plug that in. Another thing to mention, the aircraft is very smart. It's actually incredibly smart because if it's getting dirty power, it will reject the power. It would simply not accept ground power. So we eliminated the aircraft fault because it's not the airplane's problem. We eliminated the human factor because the person that's installing that plug can only plug it in one way. Now there's only one thing left. The cord and the power unit on the Jetbridge. Whether there was a short or some kind of a arcing, whatever occurred, it created that fire, which is an electrical fire. Now, people are being concerned of aircraft burning down from this. No, the airplane will not burn down from this. There is no fuel there. There's no hydraulic components there. It's simply an electrical connector right up front of the airplane. Matter of fact, if you guys watch the extended version of that video that I showed earlier, the fire actually put itself out. It basically melted the cord to a point where there was no more electricity running through it. Okay, so that being said, here's another interesting factor. Every single Jetbridge have these massive fire extinguishing bottles at the base of the Jetbridge. If there was a fire, such as the fire that you saw there, or an engine fire, or an APU fire, or any kind of hazard, you are able to put out that fire via these fire extinguishers. But there's a caveat. The first thing that you need to do as an airport employee is notify the authorities. That means the fire department. Every person deals with this kind of environment or stress environment or emergency in a different manner. I will simply tell you how I would deal with it as an aircraft technician. So anybody else can deal with it differently, but I'm going to tell you how I would do this. If I see an emergency situation, such as a fire on an aircraft, my initial thoughts would be clear the area, make sure the ground individuals are nowhere near and nobody's getting hurt. Second is priority to the passengers. I need to make sure that the passengers are getting off the aircraft. At the same time, I'm assessing the situation of what the status of the aircraft is. If there's a fire that is preventing individuals from getting out of the aircraft, then I will have to deal with that. That means I will run to the fire extinguisher and start putting out the fire without trying to cause damage to myself, obviously. I'm trying to save the passengers. At the same time, I'm trying to save the aircraft. Now, if it becomes to a point where I cannot save the aircraft, then forget about it. I'm strictly going to the passengers. Emergency response teams are very quick on the scene and they get there very fast. But until they get there, I'm going to do my best to try to save every soul on board. If that means putting my own life into danger, I will do it. I don't care. But let's say if the aircraft is evacuated and everybody's gone and it's still burning, guess what? I'm going to stand back and just watch it burn because I will not risk my life for a hunk of metal. I'll risk my life for you as an individual, as a passenger, but not for a piece of metal. I hope that makes it clear. And overall, again, not the airplane's fault, not the worker's fault. It was simply a bad power plug. That's about it. And don't listen to all the silly comments within these posts. People like to repost this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's kind of hilarious to watch. Remember when I talked about the flex band brakes on Airbus? Well, the 737 also have them, but they never removed them. That's a standard thing on a 737.
You know, it's funny, when you're walking around on the ground and you look at the winglets or sharklets, whatever you want to call them, but, you know, they don't look that big from the ground, but they're actually massive. These things are like 7 feet, almost 8 feet tall. They're huge.
If you don't believe me, here's a good reference for you. This is yours truly. I'm only 5'6", and look at the size of that wingtip. Yeah, these things are massive. Another happy customer. Let's see now. Everything looking good. I think this one's going to Puerto Vallarta. I'm not sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, it is going to Puerto Vallarta. There it is. Now I can't remember who was asking, but somebody asked, how come when you always show the fuel panel or the fuel overhead panel in the 737, one of the fuel pumps is always on? Well, that's because the APU is running. It could still run without the pump because it could create suction, but this will create a positive pressure to the APU for the fuel. A bit of context to this. So when the aircraft is completely dead, there's no power, the APU is not on, there's no ground power, you still have DC power. So the way this works is you turn the batteries on from the aircraft and it generates energy or power to a DC pump or a fuel pump. This creates positive fuel flow to the APU. Now this is the interesting part. I have seen carriers use either the forward pump or the aft pump. I don't know why some carriers just turn on the forward pump or some carriers turn on the aft pump, but that's the way they do it. I don't know. It must be something within policy procedures. But the standard procedure is the left side or the left wing tank to turn those pumps on, one or the other, to make sure you have positive flow. To all my 737 pilots as well as technicians, please let me know what is your procedure and what you guys are told to do. I'm very curious because it always differs between different carriers. Yeah, that's why you'll always see that fuel pump on when the APU is running. That's about it. Everything else here is pretty much self-explanatory. Man, oh man. Oh, why not? Let's go. We gotta go switch the guns. All right, let's get out of here. Oh my goodness. Brake fans are loud. You think the PTU is loud? No, the brake fans are the most annoying sound in the world. Yep. Back into another Airbus. This one's good to go. Came from DFW. Going right back to DFW. All normal. That's exactly what I want to see. Let's see now. Somebody was asking, how does the crew oxygen always deplete? Why are you always changing it, Stig? Well, it's not because they're using it all the time, but they do test it every single flight. Every single flight, pilot will have to come over here, press that button to test. And that slowly, over time, depletes the oxygen. So, for the FO, first officer, and captain's side is on this side, and this observer as well. So every single flight, they have to test these out. That's why it depletes slowly. But yeah, there you go. All right, day shift is done. Time for a swing shift. I got assigned to international gate, so we got to head over there, watch this beautiful 777 getting pushed out. But we got our own 777 that's coming in for an Eops check. So let's go. More fun to come. I hope you guys are not getting bored of this because I know most of this is very much routine work. This is what we do as aircraft maintenance. And while we wait, we appreciate. And why not? If you work on the airfield and you're around such an amazing environment, take a moment, stop, and appreciate where you are because you are surrounded by not only incredible engineering, but also incredible human effort, making all these machines work, everything working around you and the process of it all. It's amazing. Take it all in, breathe it all in. It's truly a phenomenal experience.
go. That's the guidance system. That's what tells the pilot to come in straight. Watch, you'll see it.
The guidance system is there to assist the pilots to taxi up the aircraft. It will tell them to go either left or right to make sure they are on the center line. It will also tell them when to stop the aircraft at a designated location. Somebody told me this is going to take away jobs. No, it's not going to take away any jobs. You still need the same amount of people. You still need wing walkers, and you still need a designated individual at an emergency stop button by the Jetbridge, just in case that aircraft is about to have some kind of occurrence or obstruction when they're taxiing up. They'll hit that button to stop the aircraft. But anyway, let's go up inside.
Oh, look at that. Well, I had to drop this whole panel down because I need to change that light right there. That light looks like that. It was out. But gives you a good chance to look at what's overhead. It's got a speaker, you got your oxygen generator right here.
A quick correction, that's not an oxygen generator, that's actually an oxygen bottle. The lavatories have real oxygen bottles within the upper compartment right there. It's unlike the ones that are within the passenger seats. Those are oxygen generators. It's a chemical reaction when you pull down on the cord and you breathe into the mask. The ones inside the lavatories are actually oxygen bottles. That's just the way it's designed.
Just in case. There you go, it drops down from there. See? And just this circuit for the light and some ducting for air, and as well as your smoke detector back here. Pretty cool, huh? They're all carbon, well, honeycomb composite material. The ceiling. Pretty cool, huh? There's the power cable. Easy. There you go. See? Good as new. Alright, on to the next stuff. So far so good. Well, except for one little thing. We had a couple of inbound write-ups, but one other thing was this. We got a serviced left IDG. Bring the oil levels back up to normal. So that's not a biggie. Let's go get.
So a little bit of context right here. We're talking about the IDG. The IDG is the integrated drive generator. The generator has its own oil supply, and time to time, the oil that's within it does seep out, and it will require servicing. We also service it, replenish the oil within it, and as well as change the filters when it comes time for service checks. But when it comes down to line checks like this, we have to make sure the oil levels are at sufficient levels. That means we have to bring it back up to sufficient levels. This is a very common thing. It happens all the time. So trust me, don't worry about this kind of stuff. I'm going to show you how we service it right here.
The Bowser, take care of that. But otherwise, all the inbound write-ups were taken care of. Which is good.
Okay, so we're looking at the bottom of the GE90, and those are service ports. The forward one with the quick disconnects, those are for the backup generator. The ones I have released are for the generator itself, the main generator, the IDG. One is to plug in and to push the oil in, which is the service port, and the other one is the overflow. So when the IDG gets serviced to sufficient amount of oil, the overflow will dump out the excess oil. You'll see this in a second. The IDG uses the same oil as the engine oil. The first thing we got to do is depressurize the IDG. That's done by attaching the overflow. Once it's depressurized, now we can attach the service port.
Get that one? little tricky. You got it. And now, pump your life away. All right, let's go back to maintenance display. And we want to see electrical page. Beautiful. That's exactly what I want to see. Good. Nice. On to the next one. I was just looking at the ratings at on this one of our tugs here. It's a Challenger 700. Pretty interesting. Snow on the ramp. Yeah, like we'll ever have snow on a ramp here in LA. But yeah, these things always amaze me. The wheels on this thing is bigger than the airplane wheel. Yeah. Anyway, this one's all done, ready to go. Just waiting, hanging out, waiting for it to get pushed back out, going to London. Good bird.
After everything was completed and the Eops check was done, I take a quick little final walk around just for my own sake, because I am just like that. I take pride in my work. It's not some kind of selfish pride, it's internal pride. I want to make sure I'm putting out a good product. It means a lot to me that I can put an aircraft back into service or make it airworthy for the souls on board. I want it to be safe. It means a lot to me. And I sit there and I watch it get pushed back because, how can I put this? It's a part of me. It is me. I need it. I need to see it. I need to be there. That's all I can say.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, cargo never disappoints. Oh, yes. Ooh. That is beautiful. That is incredible right there. Oh my goodness. Yep. Look at this. That is just incredible. That's what I call a machine. It's such a beautiful car. Look at that. Not only that, another beautiful Porsche. Roof edition. Look at that. That's an incredible color too. Forest green.
As much as I love that Ferrari, but I will take the Porsche any day of the week. I love Porsches. I guess I'm coming close to my midlife crisis. Who knows? Whatever. Enjoy the cars.
Oh, I never noticed this. Look at that. Very unique. What an incredible car. See? Cargo never disappoints.
Stick around or fast forward to the end of the video. You'll see another beautiful car that I saw later on.
All right, day one down. That was fun. Got to see some cool cars, some fun airplanes. But see you bright and early in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Let's go. Time for another day. Woo, look at that. That's beautiful. Back to International. Let's go. All right, here we go. First office. Let's see now. I think I've talked about this before, right? So See these 8 holes? They usually put a jack pad right here. It's for auxiliary jacking point. Most of the time they'll use this for balance. But the primary jacking points on most Boeing aircraft are usually the bottom of the wing, one on each side and one on the tail. There's one right there. You just take out that little plate, and there's a jacking pad right there. And the other one's at the tail. Woohoo! But yeah, pretty much most Boeing aircraft are like this. 787s, 777s, 757s. There you go.
Here you go. That's what it looks like. And here's what the rest of it looks like when the aircraft is completely fully on jacks. As you can see, the aircraft is in a very heavy check environment. All the landing gear have been removed, the nose and the mains, and the aircraft is completely on jacks. Those are the jacks right there underneath the wings. And if you look all the way in the tail, you'll see the tail jack. Now, when it comes to Airbus, it's a little bit different because the primary jack points for the Airbus is nose and wings, and the balance point is in the back. The big jacks you see are for the wings, and if you look closely towards the nose, you'll see the nose jack. The time we use these jacks to lift the whole aircraft up is when usually performing maintenance on a gear swing. That means operating the gear on the ground up and down, or heavy maintenance on the landing gear itself, let's say removing and replacing. It's always fascinating to see an aircraft jacked up on the ground and performing a gear swing. Fun stuff. All right, back to our 737. We're going to finish up our walk around here. This is the wheel well of the 737-800. Just a quick little look, make sure everything is in its right place, and then we'll go upstairs.
Oh, this is a good bird. Let's see. I'll show you something here.
Now, I may have talked about this in previous videos, but I'll bring it up again. Why not? These things are called RLS, Remote Light Sensors. There's 2 of them, one on each side of the glare shield. These 2 little units will measure ambient light with a photodiode sensor. It will collect all this data and send an analog signal to one of the display units. To be more specific, the left one will send it to the left outboard display unit, and the right one will send it to the right outboard display unit. It will take the calculations and the inputs and give a value of brightness to all the units. Pilots also have the option to manually adjust the brightness of the display units. This is the L1 door on the 737, and what you see me press right there, that little yellow tab, is an unlock latch or a release latch. What this will do is it will unlock the door so you'll be able to close it. But once the door goes back into full open position, it will relatch itself. Every single 737 door has this. The main entry doors, I should say. So if you ever see somebody struggling with the 737 door, they might have forgotten to depress that little latch. But that's about it. One thing about the 737, that door is so awkward to open and close.
Next office. Now look, remember I was telling you on the 737? This is on a 777. Same 8 holes. Auxiliary jack point.
The opening below that is one of the outflow valves for this aircraft. This is a 777-200, and our 200s are equipped with the Rolls-Royce Trent 800 engine. I'll leave you with the rest of this clip with the sounds of the airport as I walk around. I always like these lights. That looks so cool. This one just came from the hangar, so I just gotta double check a few things. Make sure everything's A-okay. A toilet flushing. Not a big deal, right? But there is a system behind this. The only way that the aircraft can flush the toilet right here is because it has a vacuum blower or a vacuum generator. It creates suction within the system, and that's how the waste gets evacuated into the tank. Now, that's on ground, but when the aircraft is flying in the air, aircraft will use its pressurization system. It will use differential air pressure to evacuate the waste. If I remember correctly, the vacuum blower will stop operating at around 16,000 feet. That's when the differential air pressure will take over and evacuate the waste. Next office, looks like we got to do a manual start. Now, you've heard me talk about this plenty of times. I even have a dedicated video of explaining what a manual engine start is. But yeah, we had to do it on this 321neo on a number 1 engine. The starter valve failed, so we had to turn it manually.
you go. Some beautiful GE NX action for you. Isn't she beautiful?
Now, I've talked about the 787 air conditioning system, and I've explained to you guys that it is an electric air conditioning system. It is ran by 4 CACs, cabin air compressors. But there's one little thing that I didn't talk about, is this little panel. This, believe it or not, is an intake door, but you'll almost never see it open. Very special criteria has to be met for this little intake door to open. This is called the AVS. Alternate ventilation system. There are 4 openings for the air conditioning intake system, 2 on each side, but the left side, this little door, has another opening. The only time you will ever see that door open if this criteria is met, if one of the engines fail on takeoff and the 2 air conditioning packs have complete malfunction. That little door will open. What this will do is it will supply outside air to the main air conditioning distribution system on a non-normal condition, and the cabin with proper amount of air and the flight deck. To put it in simpler form, it's a backup system. Isn't redundancy beautiful?
Well, I got a little bit of downtime, a lot of downtime actually between my next flight. And I think it's about that time to clean up the toolbox and reorganize. It's turned into a bit of a mess. Need to clean all this up. Yeah, it's getting a little dirty. All right, got some alcohol and the best lubricant that you can ever get your hands on, Crow Oil. This stuff is like gold in aviation. Anywhere you get your hands on some of this, it's the best. I cleaned up with a little bit of alcohol. Why not? Man, I had left this port thing. Last time I worked on it, got some water in from rain. Got a little bit of rust, but it's okay. I'll scrub that off. I swear, if my dad were to see my toolbox right now, he would have beat the heck out of me right now. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'll clean it all up. It's gonna take a while. That's hilarious. You know, back in the days, used to just, when there was no safety gloves or anything like that, heck, we'd pour a bucket of gasoline and wash our tools in it. Nobody cared about back then, or heck, even MEK. Any of you remember what MEK is? But yeah, man, oh man. Get that little spritz. But yeah, we'll clean it all up. We'll get it nice and pretty again. As pretty as it can get. All right, that looks pretty good. This, ladies and gentlemen, is called organized chaos. I know exactly where everything is. Yeah, I know somebody's gonna say, shadow your box. I don't want to. Why? Because you can't make me. I don't like it shadowed. I like it like this. I've had it like this for all my career. Anyway, everything's nice and clean. I need to repaint this thing, although it will lose its sentimental value to me. So, no, it's gonna stay as is. Alrighty, that's about it. The next flight should be here pretty soon. Alrighty, oh look at that, it's 7 Alpha Alpha. This is actually the oldest 777-200 in our fleet. We'll go look at the data plate upstairs. This one actually stays here. All we gotta do is just oil it and it stays overnight. Easy. And of course it has to be the last flight of the day. Never fails. But anyway, the aft cargo door won't open for some reason, so you can do it manually. Right there and right there. So there's directions there. You turn those little areas and the door starts opening manually. Let's see if we can figure this out, or figure out why it's not opening. But we gotta get it opened up to get the cargo out first.
So I got my drill gun right there, and I got the extension, and it takes a 3/8 extension. First, you got to turn that little area right there. You turn it, and that unlatches the door. That little panel right there, the little vent panel, that's supposed to drop, and the door lifts up slightly, and then you move over to the right side and turn that one, and then that opens the door. But for some reason, it was not working. The vent door would not unlatch, the door would not open. I tried to figure this out for about 5-10 minutes, and we were all kind of scratching our head. I'm like, we should be able to open the door. It's a mechanical way of opening it, but it still wouldn't budge. I didn't get a chance to capture it, but we got a couple of other guys up there, and we're kind of looking at it, and we tried it again, but this time one of the mechanics started tapping on that vent door, and would you believe it? The darn thing popped open, and we finally figured out why it was doing it. It was frozen. That little vent door is on a spring latch mechanism. Since the aircraft had just landed, it was super cold, and the latch was still frozen. It took about 10-15 minutes for it to a little bit de-thaw, and somebody just to give it a little bang, and it finally popped open. And then we were able to open up as normal, electrically. But yeah, that was, we all were scratching our head on that one, but we're glad we figured it out, and obviously nothing was broken. Darn thing was just frozen.
Yeah, that's the oldest one. Look at that. Date of issue, 1999, January 22nd. How about that? She's an old bird. She's still strong. Well, that's it for tonight, guys. Hope you guys had fun. Status, all good to go. And like I said, this one stays here. This is a nice long day. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya later. Welcome back, everybody. All right, one more day. Let's see now. It's a beautiful day today, too. All right, there's our first bird. Come on, gotta go change out a seat cushion. Here we go. Okay, a little wet, no worries. Put some gloves on and pull this off, no big deal. There you go, new cushion. I'm gonna put this on, sign it off. Easy, easy. There you go. Oh, somebody left a little wrapper here. I'll take care of that.
We do it all, we fix it all, ladies and gentlemen. Toilets to tires, everything. So yeah, even a seat cushion. It's just part of the job.
Easy. That's it. There comes the next office.
You remember last week I showed the Airbus and how the flap track mechanism works and how we drop the flaps. I want to show it to you on a Boeing 737 as well. Let's check this out. Flaps can be dropped hydraulically or electrically. We're doing it hydraulically, obviously, right here. Once the pilot or whoever's in the flight deck drops the lever for the flaps down, it will initiate the sequence of events from the hydraulic system B. It will send power to the power drive unit, the PDU, and the PDU will move the flaps down via the linkages as well as the torque tubes and going to the angle transmission boxes. That's a very dumbed down, simplified way of explaining it, okay? There's a lot more that goes into it, but I'm just trying to make it easy. For all of you that love schematics and diagrams, here you go. Take a pause, take a screenshot. This explains it a lot better, or in more detail. But anyway, back to the flaps. Since we're on this side of the wheel well, let me show you how we service the hydraulics on a 737. That is the manual pump handle, and that little receptacle or port is where you would attach a Bowser. There's two ways of servicing hydraulics on this aircraft. One is you can use the aircraft's resources itself. It has its own hose, it has its own hand pump. If you bring a can of Skydroll or hydraulic fluid, you simply put that hose in that bucket of or can of fluid. You select the system, A or B, whichever one you want to replenish, and then you pump from the aircraft hand pump. Or you can attach a Bowser to that fitting I showed you and pump that way. Also, you have to select which system. Here's a good example of how it's done. It's a quick little time lapse I did a while back. The reason you see me going back and forth, because as I'm pumping, I'm also monitoring the gauge on the reservoir. I don't want to over-service the aircraft. Fluid, when it gets hot, expands. So if you put too much fluid, and the fluid is going to get hot, it will expand. You have a potential, leakage that could occur.
Back in a 737. Flap tracks. Here's something interesting. So this is the IDG oil access panel for the CFM 56-7B. Now take a look at this. Notice how it has two full marks, and I probably talked about this before. This is for the left engine, and that's for the right engine. The reasoning for that is because these engines are slightly cantered. So the engines are also interchangeable. But yeah, also the IDGs are interchangeable. So let's say if I take this IDG and put it on the right engine, the number 2 engine, the fill mark will be over here. So there you go. Now you know. It says left, right. And this one doesn't have a depressurization port. You actually have to press that little button right there to depressurize it. And that's the service port right there. And that right there is the filter. Go up. The power ports or the power cables, color coded.
I can't remember who asked, but somebody asked me to do the TCAS test on a 737. This is what it sounds like. TCAS standing for Traffic Collision Avoidance System.
TCAS system test, okay.
Alrighty, here we go. Everything looks pretty good actually. Hydraulics look just fine. Engine oils, perfect. No inbound write-ups either. Oh, look at this. Okay, so that's the emergency lights, armed and disarmed and on. But, alright, we need to change that. Just one little bulb right there. That should be easy. I got one in my pocket. I always carry one around. Easy. And here's the problem. When you start looking around too deep, yeah, you start finding more. So I found a couple of more here. That's funny. Oh, is that it? Oh my God, the worst. When you get the bad bulb from stock. It's all right, I got more. I got more over here. That's funny. Yeah, I told you I carry a bunch around with me. It's all right. We'll change this out here in a second. There you go. All is good. That's it. As we were walking away, and all of a sudden the pilot, the outbound pilot, calls and goes, "Hey, we got a fault. We got an air conditioning pack fault. Can you guys come over and take a look?" No problem. The fault that was popping up is this one. I already cleared it by this point. I just wanted to show you. That little light was coming on. That means I have to go downstairs into the main equipment bay of the 737. And this is what it looks like in here. The 737 is still very much a traditional old classic style aircraft. You still have to go down into the equipment bay and physically test the boxes. These are the zone controllers. This is why most of the time people ask me, what aircraft do you enjoy working on more? I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be the Airbus. The Airbus is more maintenance friendly. I will never have to go downstairs into the E&E bay unless I have to change out a box. I can do everything from upstairs, from the flight deck. But anyway, long story short, it was just a nuisance fault. It just kicked up. Sometimes the aircraft do have a little bit of hiccups here and there. But after doing a bite check, built-in test equipment, everything cleared out. All faults were gone. You test it, and then you look at the previous flight, and then you verify it, and then you reset it, and everything went back to normal.
It's always fun to listen to the Airbus starting up, all those relays clicking over and the avionic vents starting to circulate the air. Oh, and before I forget, remember I told you there's another car I wanted to show you? It's right here. This thing was something really special. Check it out.
This is incredible.
Now, I'm not quite sure what exact model of Ferrari this is. Guys, go ahead, do your thing, help me out. You guys are experts on this, but you know what really was fascinating or just kind of cool to see? The old and the new, the generations. Look at the evolution from where it was and where it is now. It's completely two different designs. But the cool part is that the heritage stays. A Ferrari is always a Ferrari, so I don't know, I thought it was beautiful. But anyway, yeah, that was the other car I saw, so and I think that thing behind the tarp is another Tesla truck.
Woo! Still smoking. Well, that's about it, guys. It was a nice short day, pretty easy. Had some fun, but time to go home. What's that saying? You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Well, time for me to clock out and go home. I'll see you guys on the next adventure. Later.
Well, that's about it, guys. That wraps it up for this Stig shift. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. Feel free to throw down your information, your knowledge, your comments. I always love learning from you guys. And I also want to make mention, today is, well, I'm recording this on the 23rd, but tomorrow is a very special day, a very momentous occasion for us aircraft maintenance technicians. It's AMT Day. It's to commemorate the birthday of the father of aircraft maintenance, Charles Taylor. It's a day where us as aircraft technicians can celebrate our craft, our work, and pay homage to the man that started it all, which is, once again, Charles Taylor, the very first aircraft maintenance technician. And May 24th is his birthday. And not too far back, I made a little video about it, a little homage, and it was inspired by Paul Harvey, the one that, you know, the So God Made a Farmer. It's kind of similar, but it's more dedication to aircraft maintenance. So I will leave you with that. Thank you. On the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a fixer. So God made an aircraft mechanic. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, midday, late night, at any time. All night, work all day, take short breaks, eat lunch, get back to work because that metal needs to keep moving. So God made an aircraft mechanic. I need somebody with arms strong enough to wrestle wheels and brakes and tires, gentle enough to install fan blades. Somebody to install bleed valves, hang engines, remove parts, components, and get back and do the paperwork afterwards. So God made an aircraft mechanic. God said, I need somebody to stand there in the rain, snow, wind, sun, sleet, to see that aircraft go out safe. Stand steady till the next one rolls in. I need somebody that knows how to safety wire, ring wires, read manuals, troubleshoot, change parts, finish their 40-hour stay, and then stay for overtime because they know that's their aircraft. So God made an aircraft mechanic. God had to have somebody there on the weekends, holidays, nights to make sure you fly out safe. Someone smart enough to work on all parts of the aircraft, to be an electrician, a metalworker, plumber, woodworker, and everything else in between. Yet humble enough to sit down and say, I don't know. Because they will sit down and learn it. Somebody who works hard and true and does not cut corners. Someone to change, fix, talk, and understand what they're doing and how important it is. And stand in the background like a ghost. And head home for an hour's drive because their family is waiting for them, who will fix not only the aircraft but everything else around them because they are fixers. Laugh and then sigh and then reply with smiling eyes when their sons and daughters say that they want to spend their life doing what you did. So God made an aircraft mechanic.